Hi, Algebra students, it's Miss Carol again, and I am back to provide you some guidance for the 1.4.4 journal assignment, and I hope it'll give you some confidence to do the remaining teacher-graded assignments in this course. You still do need to do this and submit it to me so that I can grade it, but hopefully it'll be really easy since you can do it along with me. So in this assignment, we are going to be multiplying polynomials. Multiplying binomials is actually multiplying polynomials, but they're special polynomials. We can use the FOIL method because binomials only have two terms each, whereas with polynomials, polynomials could be binomials, but they could also be trinomials. They could have 4 terms, they could have 5 terms, and the FOIL method won't work, but we do have some other methods that we're going to explore here that will help us to multiply any kind of polynomial by another polynomial. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to assume that you watched this quick video, and if you haven't, please pause this recording and go back and watch the video within the course just to know the background material for this assignment. So let's move on to the actual assignment. And in this situation, Emily and Zach have different opinions on multiplying these polynomials. They want to, Emily feels that they just have to try one method to see if these products are going to be the same, and Zach feels like they have to try all 3 methods because each method might produce a different result. So that's kind of the answer actually to the first question. It says summarize each student's conjecture about multiplying polynomials, and we can do that here. Let's see. Emily says that they can just pick one method. They can pick one method to determine if the products are the same. And Zach says they need to try all 3 methods as each method may yield different results. Okay, so moving on, what do you think? Well, I am going to be in agreement with Emily, and that's kind of a giveaway because I really should be very familiar with this material. If you're multiplying polynomials, you should get the result no matter the same result no matter which way you do it. So I agree with Emily. But if you want to test the system a little bit, you're welcome to agree with Zach and tell me why. I'm not going to mark it wrong as long as you justify your answer there. Okay, so the first method that they present to us is the table method, okay? And so our first expression that we need to multiply, it is a binomial by a binomial, but we are still going to use the table method just to show that you can use this method for binomials. You could use a FOIL method for binomials, but you could also use this method and any other method for binomials, trinomials, and more. Okay, so when we use the table method, and they've already set it up for us, which is just, it really makes it easy. It's exactly like you would imagine it here. I've got x squared and I've got 4x squared, and I'm going to multiply those 2 terms. When I do that, I get 4x to the 4th, okay? And now I've got negative 4 and 4x squared, so I get a negative 16x squared, okay? Negative 4, x squared times negative 4x gives me a negative 4x cubed. And then negative 4 times negative 4x gives me a positive 16x. So then if I write these in descending order of exponents, I get 4x to the fourth minus 4x cubed minus 16x squared and plus 16x. So that is quite handy, and I'm feeling really good about that. For this one, they haven't given us the terms on the outside, but I think we can do that quite easily. We're just going to put each of these terms in each row. So we have x squared, x, and a negative 2. That's really important not to forget that. And then 4x squared and a negative 8x. Okay, so this could have gone either way. It could have gone the 4x squared and it could have gone the row here. Doesn't matter. You can do either. All right, so when I multiply these two, I get 4x to the fourth. I get 4x cubed, and I get negative 8x squared. Okay, now multiply them all by negative 8x. I get negative 8x cubed, negative 8x squared, and positive 16x, because these terms are both negative. So now if I want to combine like terms, I only have one x to the fourth term. So 4x to the fourth. I have two x cubed terms. So negative 8x cubed and positive 4x cubed gives me a negative 4x cubed. And I have 2x squared terms. Let's see what I did wrong here. Oh, I didn't do anything wrong. They're both negative 8x squared. I was thinking one of them was positive. So I have a negative 16x squared and a positive 16x. Look at that. Identical results. So this trinomial by the binomial in part B gives us the same result as the binomial by the binomial in part A. Now that doesn't always happen. We're just proving that these two expressions are going to yield the same answer. And I am contending, as is Emily, that we only need to do this to prove that those are the same product. But Zach is saying, let's try some different methods to really be sure that in this case they are the same product. Okay, so let's scroll down. And for number 3, we can say, yes, they are the same. Okay, for number 4 now, they want us to use the distributive property. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and write it out. I'm going to say 4x squared times x squared minus 4 minus 4x times x squared minus 4. Okay, so then I can distribute each of these to each term in the parentheses. So 4x squared times x squared gives me 4x to the fourth. 4x squared times a negative 4 gives me a negative 16x squared. A negative negative 4x times x squared gives me a negative 4x cubed, and a negative 4x times a negative 4 gives me a positive 16x. So if I rearrange this in order of descending exponents, I get 4x to the fourth minus 4x cubed minus 16x squared plus 6, let's see. Minus 16x squared plus 16x. There we go. And if you'll recall, that's exactly the same as our previous answers, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. All right, now I'm going to distribute. This time I'm going to take these two terms and divide them apart and distribute into the trinomial. So I'm going to have 4x squared times the quantity x squared plus x minus 2. And then minus 8x times the quantity x squared plus x minus 2. Okay? 4x squared times x squared is 4x to the 4th. 4x squared times x is plus 4x cubed. 4x squared times negative 2 is negative 8x squared. Negative 8x times x squared gives me a negative 8x cubed. Negative 8x times x gives me a negative 8x squared. And negative 8x times a negative 2 gives me a negative 16x. Okay, combining like terms, I get 4x to the 4th, because there's only one of those. 4x cubed minus 8x cubed gives me a negative 4x cubed. Negative 8x squared minus 8x squared gives me a negative 16x squared, and simply plus 16x. So once again, they are indeed the same. Hooray! So for this number 5, we can say yes. Okay, and let's move to the final method, the multiplying vertically. And to be honest with you, this is the method that I am the least familiar with, but I think it's a pretty cool method nonetheless. So in this method, what I am going to do is I am going to take this negative 4 and multiply it by each of the terms on top. Okay, and when I do that, I get a negative 16x squared and a negative 16, or excuse me, a positive 16x. Okay, and then I'm going to take this x squared and multiply it by both terms on top. And when I do that, I get 4x to the 4th and minus 4x cubed. Okay, so then I can just, there's no terms to combine. I simply get 4x to the 4th minus 4x cubed minus 16x squared plus 16x, which is the same result that we've seen over and over and over and over. Okay, I'm going to do kind of the same thing here. I'm going to take this negative 8x and multiply it by every term. So I get a negative 8x cubed minus 8x squared plus 16x. Okay, now I'm going to take this 4x, multiply it by every term, and I get a 4x to the 4th. I get a plus 4x cubed, and I get a negative 8x squared. Okay, so this is where that vertical comes in, because now I can see, I can kind of easily combine like terms here. I have a 16x, I have negative 16x squared, I have negative 4x cubed, that negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4x cubed, and 4x to the 4th. Again, totally the same. Okay, and it looks like Emily is correct. And then the last question, I think it's the last question, number 9, is you get to state your preferred method of multiplying polynomials, and then just be sure to tell me why. So there's no right or wrong answer here. I just want to know your preferred method and why. Please feel free to contact me if you have more questions on this assignment. Otherwise, I will look forward to receiving it from you and hopefully giving you a very good grade. So thank you so much for your time.